social identities, so that encapsulates culture, race, gender, are really important to learning, both in terms of access, what people expect of you and what they give you access to, and then whether you feel connected to the topic or not. We each have a history, a personal history, things we think we're good at, experiences, perceptions, ways teachers have treated us in the past, and we bring that history, each of us, to any learning moment. And our communities and societies have histories. And so when you think about a topic like mathematics learning in girls, right, what we know is that historically, girls have been assumed not to be good at math. And that matters both in how they see themselves and how teachers and others in learning environments see them and what they expect of them. And we know that a lot of what happens in schools was constructed in white Western spaces, and then we just kind of offer it missionary style to communities around the world. Yeah, the model's flawed. I think you have to be aware that that history exists and be proactive about countering it.